Hello, everybody from Prague. This is Vika, BBS volunteer in IYNF office. We were having some technical issues, so very, very, very sorry for the delay for the first thing. And for the second thing, I want to present you the webinar that we've been preparing together with Morgan and Thomas. So they will tell you a little bit later about themselves and what they have done during the webinar. And because of the technical issues as well, I will be switching myself off and giving them the floor. And I'll just be helping them to answer your questions if you have any. You've already seen the platform, how you can post some questions, how you can get the answers from me as an organizer. And also I will try to make sure they answer your questions directly. A little bit about IYNF. So IYNF is International Young Naturefriends. This is the full name of the organization. We are a youth environmental organization that deals with environmental education and capacity building and empowering youth as well, and also networking among young environmentalists. And this whole event where Morgan and Thomas took part was also kind of part of our agenda. So we joined this massive manifestation, and we had few people from International Young Naturefriends to also represent the views of citizens and NGOs in the whole COP meeting. And I'm giving the floor to Morgan and Thomas to tell you much more about it. First, starting what is COP? What happened in Warsaw? What was organized? How did they experience everything? And Thomas has some pictures from the whole experience to show you as well as he speaks. So enjoy. If you have some technical issues and you don't hear us, please tell me. We will try to resolve it on the go somehow. So have a nice time. If you have questions, ask them as well. So I'm giving the floor to Thomas and Morgan.
Hello, everybody. My name is Morgan. I'm a volunteer for IYNF. I've been with IYNF for the past year, and I'm currently coming from Warsaw, where I will be attending a workshop this week hosted by the Federation of Young Naturefriends on behalf of IYNF. And I came up here this past weekend to join the manifestation and to see what was going on as the COP started last week. And to get started, Tomas can introduce himself and kind of give us a history about the COP meeting, why we're here.
Okay, hello everybody, I'm Thomas, speaking to you from Belgium. At this moment, I'm doing my internship with Nature International in Brussels. And I got the opportunity to go to Warsaw, but now I'm back in Belgium. This weekend, I went to Warsaw with the train. And other things you should know is that I'm studying social work, social policy specialized. And I think that's mostly the thing you should know about me to talk about the COP. What you should know to understand the COP is that it is a global international meeting with the objective, with the goal to reduce emissions on a global scale. And so in 1992 in Rio de Janeiro, they came together for the first time to have an international meeting to reduce emissions globally. And so you all probably heard about the Kyoto Protocol that started in 2008. It was in 1997. The Kyoto Protocol started for the first time, and it was implemented in 2008 with the goal to reduce as much emissions as possible per country or per nation. And so now we're so many years later, and we're at the COP19, the Conference of the Parties 19, organized by the UNFCCC, that's United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, where the negotiations are taking place in Warsaw this year. Morgan?
Yeah, and just to give you an update of how it's been going on for about a week now. And one of the things that you might have noticed in your home countries, if you've seen anything on the media, is there was this really powerful speech presented by the Filipino delegation as they're kind of dealing with the major typhoon that just swept through, and the representative Yabsano, and he gave a speech last week, and he really urged the COP to be somewhere that they could actually come up with an agreement that would bring some results. And one of the things he specifically urged for was for loss and damage progress to be made, which is basically calling for the damages that are caused by climate change to have a fund that would cover them. And it's actually one of the few things that the COP has a mandate to make a decision about. And also he urged the members that we need to develop the Green Climate Fund. And as we have seen, many of the major parties have stepped away from their obligations to contribute to the Green Climate Fund, most notably the United States. And right now, there really isn't very much good news. It's really basically a bunch of deadlocks between agreements. Two of the biggest disappointing players have been Australia, which didn't even send a representative to the meeting. They recently had a new right-wing government in place, so that probably has something to do with it. And Japan has also said that they would like to downgrade the percentage of emissions that they had said that they would eliminate, and partly they're going to give money to this climate fund, but it's really a bigger disappointment because they're reneging on their commitment to lower their emissions. And one of the reasons they're saying is that they're trying to move away from nuclear power, but many people feel that Japan is one of the major players, and for them to step back from this is a big disappointment. Also, today was quite notable in Warsaw because an industry-supported coal meeting started. It's being held at the Polish Ministry of Economy, and it is quite controversial with activists, as many people feel that it's Poland giving a concession to the coal industry. And one of the most notable things was a speech today hosted by the UN Chief Climate Negotiator, Cristina Figueres, who she claims that it's simply not enough to speak only to the committed, and that's why she went and gave the keynote speech at the whole meeting. But many of the activists feel that she should have only spoken at the COP meeting. And gist of her speech, which I recommend to look at if you can, was about that coal companies need to become cleaner, and that if they don't, then we're just going to make climate change problems even worse. But it's quite concerning because many of it feel that it's perpetuating the idea of clean coal, which many believe isn't real. And today there were also many counter-protests in Warsaw to combat the opening of this coal meeting, and there were some pretty interesting demonstrations, and there was a giant banner placed by Greenpeace right across from the ministry that was quickly taken back down by the police. And one interesting article I read was that in the conference they said that the future of coal is going to be decided by the people in this building, not the people on this building, referring to the activists. So just to show how much the coal industry cares about the public's point of view. But another protest, the one that we actually are here to talk about, was one that happened on Saturday. And I think Thomas can kind of give a better idea of that.
Yeah, so Saturday was actually the big manifestation about decent work and a just transition. And it all started with 2 participants here in Belgium, 2 engaged persons who had the possibility to send out a train from Belgium, from Brussels to Warsaw in Poland. And organized by the organization Climate and Social Justice, they organized a train with 700 participants that has been riding something like 18 hours from Brussels to Warsaw to go to the manifestation with 700 people. On the train, there were also debates. There were the possibilities to watch some movies, or there were some possibilities to talk with one another or to talk with an expert. But as you can all see my screen, I will now show you some pictures. The picture you're seeing here is in Brussels, where people are meeting before the train is started. And then I will just give you like 30 to 40 pictures and give some explanation on the whole ride and on the manifestations as well. In Brussels, we were with Naturefriends. Here we have 3 participants from the Young Naturefriend. And we're meeting there with the whole society in Belgium, who went on the train and tried to go to Warsaw. Here you can see the train special on the screen in the station. And so I just put it on our questions. You can just ask. Fika is telling my sound is breaking. I don't know if it's still full like this. So the big one from IYNF who are almost always youth organizations, Wagon in the Ring, we're full of people who are from Belgium or from Holland, from Germany, and there were also some people from the UK. There was a lot of in the train because you can hear me, or okay, so my sound is crap. Is it still like this?
No, it's better now.
Morgan?
It's better now. It's better.
Yeah. Okay, it's okay. So there were a lot of activities, as you can see on the train. You had the possibility to schmink yourself before the manifestation. Here we have also participants from IYNF. There were some debates. This is a political person from a working class party in Belgium on the Flemish side. And it was possible to ask him questions about energy and about green energy and what the coal industry is doing in Poland. On the train, there was also a possibility to eat vegan or vegetarian food because that is our values as organizations and as people that we want to raise awareness for. And so this is already breakfast after 14 hours of riding on the train. Then we had to stop because the Polish has at border. They also and that's also the reason our program when we came at Warsaw. Okay. So you did you? Okay, so okay, I will start again from the start when we are stopped. So at 6 in the morning, we were all sleeping in the train, and police stopped our train and came on and checked all the participants, 700 people, for their ID. And that was the reason we were delayed for 1 hour and a half. And it was also the reason our program in Warsaw had shifted a little bit. Nature friends who were enthusiastic. And 4-5 hours later, we in Warsaw after 18-19 hours sitting on the train. And so here are all of the Belgian participants coming in Warsaw. And from there on, we meet with all the organizations that were already in Warsaw and were already there to meet in front of the palace of science and culture to see the spirit. And there was this demonstration to go from there and then walk for kilometers to the station of from there on, you could see partners of different organizations. You could see I don't know how it is. Okay.
And I can tell you, I joined in the march a bit later. And I joined somewhere in between the palace where you see the picture you see right now and the final destination. And it was quite, at first you didn't realize how many people were there, but I was on a hunt to find my fellow IYNF representative. And really, it was people from all over. You heard all languages, signs and everything about everything. And it was young people, old people, Polish people, European people, Americans, Africans, everything. And I think that's really what was really interesting with diversity. And there was quite a heavy police presence. Sometimes it felt like there was as many police officers as there were activists. But police officers, I didn't see any foul play from them, so maybe Thomas saw something different. And then we walked through the center of Warsaw, blocking one of the major roads of the city, and to a local park where there were some speeches and speakers' corner about various topics. And Thomas, I was just talking about these speakers' corner. If you could update us on that.
I can show some pictures of the speakers' corner. So I will just go through a lot of pictures where you can see a lot of different organizations from all over the world. Here you have an organization from Thailand. Here you have an organization from an African delegation. They were from all over Africa, making a lot of noise. There were some people who were also very creative in their action, like these guys. And then you had, of course, a lot of police who was checking the manifestation, but also making that everything was going safe and everything was as planned, so there were not problems anymore. Okay, good sound is better. So here you see a picture of police, but it was like that, I don't know how it's coming. Kind of a lot of noise, sing sauce. You cannot hear me. Okay. Morgan, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. It just breaks up a bit. You can only talk in very short statements.
Okay, so short sentence. This banner main message.
Sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties. It's a bit difficult, but we're coming to you from Warsaw, Belgium, and Prague. So, but so maybe Tomas, if you could just show us some of the pictures, and we can kind of get an idea of the flavor of everything and see the variety. Flavor of everything, the variety.
Morgan, shall I show pictures and you talk?
Yeah, that'd be great, I think.
Yeah? Okay. So.
And I think that's important that there was a lot of different groups of different, some were environmental groups, some were of the international ones that were used to seeing, and some were in totally different languages, so I have no idea. But they were small groups basically, and just groups from their own countries. And there were also different political groups and not just environmental groups. There was quite an active group of socialists that kept everything a bit exciting. And this picture right here is of where the COP is taking place right now in the National Stadium. And it was quite funny to walk past it and see this nice new stadium that has all these delegates and have all of the activists walking out in the cold. But I think also it's important, if you're interested in learning more about what's going on at the COP, is there's many delegations of youth organizations and different parties that are observing the COP. So you can definitely take a look at. And here is the speaker's corner, and there were speeches from all over and from different people, Green Party members. I heard a speech from a representative from the Philippines that was quite emotional and pleading for people to get active. And I think this is one of the overwhelming themes of the COP is kind of seeing how this tragedy and how it plays on the developing world so harshly, and that the developed world is kind of ignoring it and not adhering to what they agreed to years ago in these international agreements. And so I don't know, maybe Thomas, you can tell a little bit more about some of the speeches you heard.
I'm sorry, Morgan, you were delaying. Can you say the last sentence again?
If you could just tell us some about the speeches that you.
Yeah, there was, because we were all a bit tired because sleeping on the train was not the best. Some speakers were really saying quite emotional messages, especially from the Philippines. It was totally quiet at the moment when they were talking about brothers and sisters who are suffering at the moment because of the weather conditions there. But there were also speakers about the coal industry in Poland, because that is rather the biggest energy source in Poland at the moment. And
8%?
Sorry?
It makes 80% of Poland's energy.
I'm sorry. Can you hear? Can you show me? Other organizations were also a person from the Polish Socialist Party or working class party, and they were reading a letter to Mr. President, Minister Tusk, and they were asking them why it is necessary to increase the coal industry and why it is not possible to shift the transformation to a more greener and sustainable energy society, as well as greener jobs for people. So the main message on the speaker's corner was especially about climate and social justice, and people were quite active when there was interaction with the speaker. Another thing was that every organization who wanted could talk 3 minutes about their organization, their goal, and what they are trying to do in their own country, or what their message is, or what their message was in Warsaw. So it was like an open floor to everybody who wanted. And I think overall the main demonstration was quite a success, but it's way not comparable with Copenhagen 4 years ago. I went there as well 4 years in Copenhagen at the COP19. And then there were like a couple of 100,000 people in the manifestation. So the global green movement was way much bigger than this time. And that was kind of disappointing to me, because it seemed like a lot of people who were active 4 years ago weren't active this year. And probably that's because they don't believe in the COP negotiations anymore, because the outcome is also a bit predictable. A lot of people are not really expecting something from the COP, and for loads of people that must have been the reason they didn't feel the need to go to Warsaw and claim the streets.
And a lot of people feel that there's a meeting in Paris in 2015, and that this is the important meeting, and that this one in Warsaw, it's just kind of a in-between meeting. And so a lot of people are saying, oh, well, we'll wait to see what happens in Paris. And so that's also one thing that I think that we would like to tell everybody, is that if they want a big showing in Paris, then we can give them a big showing in Paris. And that we're really hoping that the youth can mobilize for 2015, and we can make our message strong and clear. And especially with the upcoming European elections, in supporting green candidates and making sure that at least at the EU level, that the Green Party is represented.
But still, for us in Belgium, the reason we were mobilizing a lot of people and people wanted to get on the train is because at the moment in the COP, they are making the framework for an agreement that could be signed in 2015. So 2015 will be the year that they can show they have an international agreement where they can sign it to be implemented. I keep on echoing again, sorry. Here we go. So if we have an international agreement in 2015, it will be implemented in 2020, and then hopefully it could be a binding, transparent, and environmental justice agreement where people, nations, and countries can feel that they have been listening to them and they had the reason to speak up for their own countries and come to an agreement that was good for everybody. But as I said, a lot of people are not believing in anymore. But I guess we will see that in 2 years. What will be the outcome of the civic organizations and how they will mobilize in the COP21. Okay.
So I think that that's all I have. If anyone, as I said before, I will be attending a week-long workshop with the Federation of Young European Greens, and there we're going to try to organize what we can do as IYNF, what we can do as other environmental organizations, and also with the Green parties across Europe. So hopefully we will have a plan that we can, and we will be able to mobilize everybody and keep everybody engaged before 2015, because that's one of our main goals, is to come up with a plan for 2015 and how to keep everybody engaged until then. If anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Hey Vika.
Yes.
What are your questions? Good question.
Pika just asked us, what did we learn?
Or what were the aha moments? She's asking as well. To me, for the whole experience, I've learned a lot about how it's possible for a small group of people organizing a big event and showing the way for a lot of people to give the path to participate. Like, for example, the train from Brussels to Warsaw was organized by 2 people who have been very active and engaged themselves for the whole project. So to me, it was an aha moment to me that it is possible for a small group of persons to change the world on a small scale. And because of those persons who have managed to make the train a reality, because of that, 700 people got on the train and 700 people got the chance to go to Warsaw and the chance to speak up and show their concerns. So for me, that was like a highlight to the whole weekend, to know that two persons can change so many things. I don't know if Morgan had aha moments during the manifestation.
Well, I think it was for me. It was quite surprising to see the variety of people and the different ages and why people were there and what everyone's motivations were. And, it was nice to see that there was quite a large Polish mobilization, and we saw many groups from Poland and signs in Polish, and I think that was quite powerful because for everyone to go there and show the people not only attending the co-op delegations, but to show the public of Warsaw why we're there and what's going on and why it's important, I think is important too. And having signs that might not be in a language that the average person on the street can read is a bit difficult. But I think also it was also kind of interesting that they did pick Warsaw in November to have a meeting, because obviously it's not so easy to encourage people to get out on the streets when it's really cold and it's dark by 4 p.m. And I think that it shows maybe how much they want to engage the public. And putting it at the top of Europe doesn't help either. But still, I think that shows the fighting spirit of people that, 700 people got on a train 18 hours to be there just for a weekend.
I don't know if there are any other people who want to ask something. Something specific. Would there be a train to Peru next year was planned for the COP20? It would be awesome to have a train from Europe to Peru. That would be really great. But, when I spoke to people in Warsaw or on the train, most of them were saying next option for us. A lot of people don't see themselves going to Peru. But after the 21 in Paris, we had a meeting and we were brainstorming about it, and we in Belgium are thinking to go to Paris by bicycle, so go for 3 days ride with so many can reach a bicycle from Brussels to Paris to get there as green as possible. And as I spoke with other Young Naturefriends on the train and in Warsaw, they were also telling me it was not the last time they wanted to attend a COP or a manifestation at the COP. So probably it's the plan for next year or in 2 years is to mobilize a lot more persons and try to engage them on a green way to participate and claim the streets in Warsaw, in Paris in 2 years. Do you have plans, Morgan, for next year? Are you going to Peru?
Peru? I don't think so. Maybe, who knows? I don't know where I'm going next month, but I'm very interested in seeing where everything goes, but I also think that it's important to see how things end up at this co-op, and if it doesn't. But we still need to work on our national levels and local levels, and it never ends.
Mm-hmm. True that. You guys asking if it was. Oh, you go. You were talking. Go ahead.
Well, if it was worth it to go come up here to Warsaw, well, I'm only coming from Prague, so I can't say that I'm making the biggest sacrifice of any of the people to be here, but it is really powerful to see people from all over the world who care about this, and especially people from Africa, Asia, South America, because for them it is a huge deal, and it shows how important it is. And I'm from the USA, and it's also really interesting to me to see how many Americans are here and see the representation of the youth there and young people and just concerned citizens. It's nice because sometimes you don't see people, you just see the national or international organizations and you don't put a face to it and see it. It's great. And also Warsaw, it's really buzzing with everything right now. There's really a sense of kind of the people are really getting active. I don't know if anyone has seen any of the news of what's been happening in Warsaw for the past week, and some pretty scary stuff, but some pretty inspiring things as well. And I think Poland is an interesting place to put everything because they're not the most climate change forward thinking country. And they have quite a lot of issues they need to deal with, but I think that also makes it more relevant to put it somewhere like here. But it is really cold here. I would say that.
Yeah, if I have to answer the question then I'm probably going to say a lot of things that Morgan already told. The reason that I'm going to such events, or the reason I feel the need to speak up, is because time is getting scarce every day more and more, and if we want to keep the scenario of the future under 2 degrees Celsius, we really have to act. Actually, we have to act now, and the longer we wait, the less we will have a chance to live in a world where the global temperature will stay beneath 2 degrees. And as the IPCC had shown in their last assessment report, they are showing that we should do everything to avoid 2 degrees. Hours, sleeping 15 hours in 3 days is kind of worth it, even though you're exhausting when you're coming back. And so I was asking another question, and that question is: would you like to come to COP, not to be present on street, but to present inside the meeting room? And would you like to be politically involved and represent the youth during the negotiations? Do you know how to achieve it?
Well, I know that I've been following what the Federation of Young European Greens, they have some observers, and they're in I don't think they're in the, I'm not exactly sure what access they have, because some meetings are closed off to observers and some are open. And I think it's important that the youth is represented, of course, in the negotiations. But I think as we see that it doesn't matter who's representing if the major powers aren't ready to play. And there's many small countries from the developing world that are. Bolivia has said that if they don't come up, if there's not an agreement that's reached, then they won't agree to anything. And there's these small countries that are urging for stronger agreements to be made, but if major countries aren't willing to play, then it doesn't matter who's at the table, in my opinion.
In my opinion, I think this is one of the most difficult questions, because as we are already on COP19, it shows we had already had the need for 19 meetings that didn't solve anything. So, and after this meeting in Warsaw, to me as well, I think somehow I lost my belief in COP, so I wouldn't do it, because being part of it makes it, I don't know how to explain myself, but I think if you are participating in a COP already for, like, say 20 years and you still didn't achieve anything, it must be very, very, very frustrating for a country like, say, Philippines, where you are already seeing day-to-day climate change problems, and so helping or attending COPs in general make it hard to me, because if you go there and have any agreements each year on, yeah, I would.
So just reading Vika's question, and bye, Adrian. How can we influence climate change? Well, I think one of the biggest things we can do is mobilize the public and tell the government what we think needs to be done. I think, of course, we can all make personal sacrifices, and that's important, and educate as many people as possible. But I also think that as concerned citizens, we need to tell our governments, because the government can make a really big impact in what we're doing, and a little bigger than our personal day-to-day efforts.
Sorry, I didn't again. To answer the question, what do we do about the environment? How can we influence climate change? I think it is very important that you just try to influence your peers and try to be active on the global scale to find a network where people are immediately trying to do stuff. And for me, it is very important that you see small results and small steps where you have the feeling you are contributing to the struggle against climate change. So, yeah, it's most important for people, if they want to be active and if they want to help the movement, they just have to make some friends within the movement and try to do stuff that give them the feeling they are changing things. And if that's possible on a local scale, I would only support it. But if it's possible on an international scale, and if you have the possibility to do that, you shouldn't hesitate. And maybe as last thing, I think the importance of climate change is that it is something that the whole world will suffer from. So on one hand, it is just uniting all of us, and once we can see we are all in the same problem, because we are damaging our own house. I think if we can see that as a global society, the history of the world will take a very different course than we have it now. And if we can transcend border and ideologies and just say, okay, we have this problem, how can we manage to get out of it? Yeah, that would be that would be a very different world to live in, I guess, if people can see how we are damaging our own planet and our own house. So,
welcome back.
Go local.
Yeah, I just.
Go local.
I just come back to probably wrap it up. I just come back to probably wrap it up. I just come back to probably wrap it up. I just come back to
It's like a bad remix of a song or something.
I'm very sorry for that. But I was recording on another computer, so it kind of started echoing like crazy. I don't really hear you that well at the moment, but just a little bit. Maybe I think it's about time to wrap it up because also quite a lot of listeners are already gone. If there are any questions from you guys, so just your last chance to ask. And I don't know, maybe you would like guys like for the beginning, for the concluding word, you would like to, I don't know, give a wish out in the public, because we are also recording all the webinar and maybe somehow we'll try to publish it. So you can probably make a wish and maybe your words would be heard.
Well, I'll be here all week, and hopefully I will be back with a message for everyone and a plan of how we can get ready for the future, for the next upcoming years, and how the Nature Friends can be a part of that, what we can do on the local level, how we can stay engaged, and be prepared for the future.
Yeah, my wish is kind of the same. I would like to see Nature Friends doing some more participation on a political level, to engage others, society organizations, to reach out and make local movements. So to me, it is very important if people unite. If they are forever, people and we're all living on the planet, so that's my Christmas wish. I'm not the best in making a wish card, so just try to change things on a local scale and they will have an international effect. So,
Done? It's really funny because I don't really hear you. Like I can hear that there's a room and that the sound is going. So I'll have to listen back a little bit to the recording. As for the ending of the webinar, I want to thank you guys so much. Good luck to you, Morgan, in Poland. I believe you can rock the world there of the European Greens as well. Thomas, see you in 2 days in Grafhorn, as IYNF is meeting for one of the annual meetings, and I have a feeling that your experience in the COP19 will also bring a lot of discussions into the IYNF broader network, and we'll talk about it for sure much more in person. Thank you very much for everyone who was attending as well and listening to us throughout the whole time. Thank you for the patience in the technical issues that we had and couldn't really influence them too much. Hope to see you at some other webinar pretty quick. Have a good night. Bye-bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.